Before, I used to be outspoken. My mom did raise me to not depend on anyone. It's very it's two-sided because it's very Hispanic culture. I was a daddy's girl. So it was very, this is the way it is. But I think my mom subconsciously, and really without saying it, was raising me to not go through what she went through, but she couldn't say that, right? At this point, I remember this day, and she remembers it. I was really sick with the flu. So I was laying in my bed, and my mom came to my room, and she was laying in the bed with me, and we were talking. And my ex-husband had been in contact with my parents, because again, master manipulator and charmer of all charmers. My mom's asking me if I would take him back. But then still I had to hold true to the values, because then when I wanted to divorce my ex-husband, she didn't want me to divorce because we're a family and it's a family unit. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
What does it take to break free from a cycle of abuse and build a life of purpose and leadership? In this episode, you'll meet Monica Gracia, Senior Vice President of Operations at Dayrise Residential, LLC, a woman who transformed unimaginable hardship into extraordinary resilience. From surviving domestic violence as a single mother with just $36 to her name, to becoming an SVP of Operations, overseeing properties nationwide, Monica's journey is a testament to the power of gratitude, community, and an unshakable belief that tomorrow can be better. Her story will inspire you to find hope in the darkest moments and remind you that no matter where you start, transformation is possible.
There are times I would go to court because of child support. His child support was $150 a month that he didn't pay. So I'd go, and he would never show up. And all of a sudden I hear,
"Hey, Monica."
I was like, that voice. And I turned around, and my brain, it really felt like a movie scene where my brain is spinning, and I'm trying to go through who is this? Who is this? What is going on, right? Because my brain had repressed so much of him. Then it finally clicked. That response was fear. I started sweating and I'm shaking. I had to sit on my hands. That's when I knew how much power this man had over me. It was really rough.
But how are you managing emotionally? Your parents didn't know, how are you managing all of this?
It took many years. My parents didn't know. They didn't know he was abusive. They didn't know how.
Property managers lose hours chasing rent, while delinquency and filing costs add up to massive losses. The financial impact? Millions in unpaid rent sold to collections agencies that recover just 20 to 30%, while taking a huge cut. Now, the Kelsey you trust for leasing helps you recover more rent in-house, reducing reliance on agencies and maximizing revenue. With Collections AI, Kelsey automates rent and move-out collections, from the first missed payment to move-out, while ensuring compliance across jurisdictions. Easily train and set up Kelsey on your company's collections process, including CARES and state-regulated workflows. She doesn't just set reminders. Kelsey answers resident questions, tracks promise to pay dates, and follows up persistently to keep payments on track. Need oversight? Corporate teams can monitor collections in real time with Zuma's dashboard, while site teams use the Chrome Assistant to track payments and even respond as Kelsey when needed. Kelsey also evaluates resident risk with AI, providing instant insights to help you make smarter renewal decisions. The impact? Doubles collections velocity, reduces filings, cuts site team workload by 85%. Stop leaving rent revenue on the table. Let Zuma's Collections AI handle the heavy lifting while you focus on what matters. Get started today.
I was like, don't ask for anything because I don't want to be embarrassed to have to say no, with everybody else buying all the things. And she was so good. And this kid to this day knows the value of $1 like no other. She saves. She got married on Valentine's Day, and her husband just bought their house. She had the money for the down payment, all the things. I was like, do you need it? She's like, no, Mom. She is so good with money. She's so frugal. She's all about a good deal. But to see how far she's come, and that, I was able to put her through school. She went to college. She graduated high school early, graduated college early. I was able to pay for a wedding for her. And we went through hell and back throughout all of this, because even through that journey with her, when she was young, it continued because there was a lot of effects that he had even after that. And there's some lingering effects still, like, because his initials are my same initials. And so credit and stuff, we knew everything about each other. So like he would open up stuff in my name. And so it was really hard. It's really hard to rebuild yourself when somebody's just still even out of your life doing everything they can to knock you down. So it was just an ongoing battle, but with our village, I always refer to my village, our village of people. And a lot of it has been the industry. They've watched my daughter grow up and helped in every which way. And, we've come so far. And so we are so big on wanting to give back and help others and not let anyone go through what we went through. Because it was rough. It was really rough. It was, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How are you managing emotionally? Not your parents didn't know. Like, how are you managing all of this?
Well, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
It took many years. My parents didn't know. Then they knew. They didn't know he was abusive. They didn't know how bad it was. It took a very long time of just realizing that I can do it, that it's okay. And, faith is a very important part of me. And I think that's how I have managed for so long, is I have just that belief in it's going to be okay. I've gone through so much, and there's going to be a way out, and, it's going to be okay. And it wasn't very easy. And even there are times I would go to court because of child support, because he wouldn't pay child support. He hasn't paid he pays every now and then, because the way our system works, if they pay it restarts the clock on the stuff. So my daughter's 23, and I think we still have a balance of like $21,000 or something. And I don't go against it. It's just the state working their magic, right? His child support was $150 a month that he didn't pay. So I would go to court just to be, the state would say, can you come to court? You just need to say that he hasn't paid you, or, and I was like, yep, fine. And so I'd go, and one time, and he would never show up. And one time I'm there, and this is years down the road. And I'm sitting in not a pew, but it's like a pew at the courthouse. And I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear, "Hi, Monica." And I was like, that voice. And I turned around, and my brain, it really felt like a movie scene where my brain is like spinning, and I'm trying to go through like, who is this? Who is this? What is going on, right? Because my brain had repressed so much of him. And so then it finally clicked, and I was holding my keys in my hand because I didn't take my purse and everything. My keys started to jingle because I started to shake. It was like a natural, I turned around when it clicked, and I was like, and I started to shake, and my body had a physical reaction to seeing him. A physical reaction of fear to seeing him, even though there was no imminent threat. I hadn't seen him in years. We were long divorced. All of this, I've, in such a better place now, or at that time even, but to know that your body, your instinct, right? That response was fear. I started sweating, and I'm shaking. I had to sit on my hands and, control my breathing because the fear was there. And you think that's when I knew how much power this man had over me, because this is years later, so far removed, and I still had so much power. He still had so much power over me. Fast forward to maybe 4 years ago. I had to do court. It was 4 years ago, and it was COVID, so it was virtual court, right? It was during COVID, and so it was virtual court. And I like to take this as a win for me, because I saw him at court. Granted, it was virtual court. He was on the screen, but my body didn't react. And I was like, oh. And I was able to speak clearly and confidently. And I don't know. Could it have been, is it likely that it's just because it was virtual and I knew there was no physical threat? Possibly. But in my mind, I was like, this was a win, because this was the first time in his presence that I was able to speak with confidence and clearly and, advocate for my daughter's rights, and for what's best for her at the time. And so it was, how will it, the fear is still there. The fear will always be there. I have a fear of, it lives in the Fort Worth area, right? I have fear every time I go to Fort Worth. My last name is his last name. It's not a very common last name, right? And so there's that fear always that he is going to get wind of where I'm at. And like my daughter feels the same way when she goes through Fort Worth. She says she wants to like hold her breath for what, because we're scared. But so how am I managing? I just go day by day, right? And just hope that, and know, I'm like, God's got me. Because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, you strike me as a really positive person. Mm-hmm. Are you not?
Yeah, I am. Sometimes ridiculously positive, and sometimes I'm like, what is wrong with you? Right? It's not that everything's sunshine and rainbows, but you have to have a sense of optimism. Otherwise, with the crap and stuff that I have been through, if I didn't have this optimism, I'd be holed up in a bed somewhere. I wouldn't have crawled out. My daughter and I would have been another statistic. If there wasn't if I didn't have that joy in my heart of regardless of what's going on, and just that level of optimism she is my why. She is my why, but I think also I am my why. I wanted to break the cycle of what my family had gone through. And so you have to be optimistic, right? It's going to be okay. Failure, mistakes, stumbles, challenges, obstacles, all the things are inevitable, right? All you can do is welcome them. I always, my thing is welcome it, you learn from it, and you grow from it. Everything in life is a lesson, personally and professionally. It's like, okay, this happened. You want it, right? It's how you're going to, through adversity is where like growth comes, right? Through those little cliche sayings about, you got to be uncomfortable, right, to grow. And it's true, though. That's when you learn the most, is when you push yourself to that point or things happen and then just something beautiful comes of it, I now know what I absolutely will not tolerate in a relationship, and my daughter, by us going through what we went through and me breaking the cycle when I did, she is in such a beautiful, healthy relationship that I get to see that's proof that I broke the cycle. Because her husband, my son-in-law, he's the best thing that could have ever come for her. She's a pain in the butt. She's like me. We're stubborn. We know she's hard. We've had to be tough, but to see it, I'm like, that's also my reward. Like, I did something right along the way. I did something right. And so she's my why in everything. And to think she'll always be right until they have a baby. If they have a baby, then it's the baby. Then it's grandbaby.
It's grandbaby. Yeah, it is really sad that it is a cycle, right? Did your ex-husband, he must have gone through something?
I don't know, Yeah. I don't know what he went. His parents seemed mostly normal. They were in-laws at the time, right? So, so let's be real there. Like, he has a brother, and his brother, happy, healthy marriage, kids and all things. And it's kind of, I don't know. I don't know what happened in his childhood or what happened in his life that he never shared with me. He started with drugs, and at first it was just weed, which when I was in high school, everybody was smoking weed. I wasn't, because my dad was a cop and I would get caught. Yeah. And I was in a small town. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
I was truly like a good girl there, because my dad was, I was scared of my parents.
Your dad was pretty strict?
Yeah, with me, not with my brother. My brother's a whole different ballgame.
And your brother's older?
Older. My brother's older, and but they were strict with me. They had their rules, and again, it's the Hispanic female. There's a lot of cultural biases there, and so, But I don't know what happened in his family, but it was drugs, and then it progressed, and we went to Fort Worth for me to go to school, and he was back home with all of his friends, and his friends had, they had escalated the type of drugs they were using, right? And all kinds of things. And it got crazier and it got worse. And I would justify the abuse as it's because he was coming down off of his drugs. I gave an excuse. And that's kind of why I stayed in the early stages too. Like, it's not him. And I still truly believe that there is a good man in there, deep in his heart, deep in his soul. Because I also want to believe that I wouldn't have fallen in love with someone that's just that terrible. So I truly believe that there is a good person there. And the drugs ruined it. And whatever he was masking and whatever demons he is fighting internally did that to him. And then I was the outlet, right? I was the outlet. And I used to be, and I back am, and there's that long portion of my life where I wasn't outspoken, because if I was outspoken, then that's when I'd feel the wrath, right? So there's that. Before I used to be outspoken, my mom did raise me to not depend on anyone, to not, it's very it's two-sided, because I'm it's very Hispanic culture. I was a daddy's girl. So it was very, this is the way it is. But I think my mom subconsciously, without saying it, was raising me to not go through what she went through, but she couldn't say that, right, at the time. And so it was more like I was going to leave Brownsville and she didn't want me to come back. And so it was just this weird balance, because it was but then still I had to hold true to the values, because then when I wanted to divorce my ex-husband, she didn't want me to divorce because we're a family and it's a family unit. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
But she knew about...
She at this point, I remember this day, and she remembers it. I was really sick with the flu. And so I packed up Kyle's my daughter, packed up Kyle in the car, and we drove to San Antonio so my mom could help take care of Kyle for a weekend. And I was really sick, and I could just lay in my mom's bed, and my mama can make me some soup, right? So I was laying in my bed, and my mom came to my room, and she was laying in the bed with me, and we were talking. And my ex-husband had been in contact with my parents, because again, master manipulator and charmer of all charmers. My mom's asking me if I would take him back. And I was like, Mama, I said, he did this to me, fractured jaw, busted lip, all of these things, bruises, broken bones, all of the things. And I was like, Kyle saw it. I don't want to go through that anymore. He said he was going to stop using drugs, and he does for max 3 months, and then it's all back into the same cycle. I said, I can't do it anymore. She's like, but y'all are a family, and I don't want Kyle to grow up without a father, and all of these things. And I was so exhausted, and I literally laid there, and I was mentally exhausted because I'd been fighting this fight with my mom for months at this point about my ex-husband. Trying to open her eyes to who he really was, right? And I finally said, I go, Mama, if it'll make it easier on the family, I'll take him back. I was ready to take him back, just to make peace with the family, because it was so hard on the family. And I said, if it'll make it easier on the family, I'll take him back. And at that point, she paused. And it felt like forever, and it probably just a few seconds. But I think what she did is she was going, because, she's remarried to my stepdad and everything. And I think at that point, that was a trigger for her to remember what she went through with my father. And I think that's when she said no. And she said, no, Mika, you need, I don't want you to go through that. You need to do what's best for you and for Kyle. And I said, are you sure? I even asked for reassurance, and she said yes. And so then that's when I knew I could move forward and close that door. Because I was ready just to go back, just to make it easier on everybody else. I think of it now, because now I would never do that.
Yeah.
Now it's no. If you've got it, now I'm big on protecting my peace, right? It's I've got to protect my peace. Regardless of who it is or what it is, I've got to protect my peace. Work, personal, whatever. Your peace is so valuable. It's so important. because otherwise everything else is, there's always chaos. There's always all the noise. And so the one thing you can control is your own reaction to everything, and you have to protect your peace.
Because if you don't, everything else around you gets affected, obviously.
Totally. Your work life, your people that you work with, your friendships, your relationships, everything just becomes this negative spiral of negativity. And that's not me. And there are times when I feel myself, I have felt myself getting there, and it's like, no. Let's take a minute. Let's figure out what's going on and what is this and what do I need to separate myself from, and what do I need to do?
So how do you do that now? How do you protect your peace? Is it like just keeping toxic people out of your life?
Keeping toxic people out of my life. I mean, some of that's kind of sometimes. I mean, and what in our business, we're in the people business, right? So some of it you can't avoid some of those negative influences, right? Those outside influences. You can't control them. It's going to happen. But I work really hard on practicing gratitude. There's always something to be grateful for. And so on those days when life feels like it's lifing and people, I'll say people are peopling, personally or professionally, I'm like, man, people are peopling. And I'll tell my team that, my direct reports, they laugh because I'm like, they're like, how's it going? I was like, people are peopling. Y'all got to control them. But when that's happening, I'd be more intentional with finding my reason to smile, finding that, what am I grateful for? There's always something, even in the midst of all the things. It's like there's always something to be grateful for in that moment, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing I was thinking about this the other day, gratitude is like, when usually everything starts in your mind, right? Set in your mind, and then that manifests in your actions and everything. So the inverse of that is just like cultivate a positive mindset.
Yeah.
And like just remind yourself, like fill your brain with all the good things. And then it just like flows. It's funny, me and my friends, we do this simple thing where sometimes I just like walk outside, I'm like, wow, like it's an amazing day. And it's kind of cool because you can actually use words to also you can like trick yourself. Yeah,
also. It's like that skill. It's a skill that they use.
Yeah, it's a skill they use. So you can just like walk outside and be like, wow, it's an insane day. And I've noticed that just like kind of like, then I'm like, oh damn, like this is an amazing day. And then you just like trick yourself, and then you're in a good mood.
You're in a good mood. It's true. You have to trick yourself sometimes. Yeah. And you're like, nope, I'm not going to let that get to me today, Yeah. And there are some days where everything, especially in our business, you've got residents, you've got employees, you've got owners, you've got investors, you've got coworkers, you've got all the people everywhere pulling at you, telling you to do things, look at this, do this, and you're like, oh, hold on. And then in the mix of it, you have like some major catastrophic event at a property, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, and now there's this. But yeah, you have to find the positive and be like, okay, out of this, and again, welcome it, learn from it, grow from it, right? So like on those things, it's like, okay, even when people are peopling or we messed up, and it's like, okay, we dropped the ball big on this one, What did we do? What could we have done differently to avoid this outcome, right? And we grow from it. We're like, all right, awesome. Not going to do that again because that didn't go well, right? And I use that personally too. You have to. There's going to be challenges. And life is going to be life. And it's going to throw all the curveballs at you. And it's like, okay, how can I be ready for them? You can't prepare for every single instance. Never in my life did I think, when I was growing up in school, did I think I would end up being, in an abusive relationship. Never in my life did I think, I would be, at the time, like putting my daughter through college on my own, paying for her wedding on my own, doing all of that. Never in my life would I thought, never, in all fairness, I didn't want to have kids. And so she was a surprise, and she knows she was a surprise, and God gave me her for a reason, right? And so, because she taught me a lot, but that was not my path. This was not my path in any way, shape, or form. But it is my story. It is my journey, and I'm grateful for everything I went through. I'm grateful for the time that all the things my ex-husband did to me, because it's allowed me to just grow. And it's given me this reason to never go back there again, right? To never go through that again or allow myself to go through that again. It's given me this tool to be able to help others and this voice to be able to share it with others, so that if even one person hears it and is like, oh, there is hope on the other side, or I can do it, and one person escapes that earlier than I did, or even whenever it is met in their time and they are able to do it because they got wind of my story, that is everything. That is amazing. And that is beautiful. I'm super involved in HAA, right? In the Houston Apartment Association. They recently, it was in October of last year, we had a seminar with the Texas Council on Family Violence, because October is not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so they had a seminar for the members and stuff on just domestic violence and the resources for property management personnel and like different stories. And it was really cool. The Texas Council on Family Violence does an amazing job of bringing awareness to this event or to this cause, right? And I introduced the speakers and I shared just a little tidbit of my story. And the amount of people that came up to me afterwards or reached out to me on social media afterwards thanking me for sharing was unreal, because it was such a small class. So the percentage was astonishing and scary. Because it's not that they were telling me, like thanking me necessarily for the resources for them to help their residents, which is what we were kind of, the angle we were mostly taking. But it's because they either went through it or were going through it right now. And I just want to go save them all. And I can't, but it's like, and so all I do is just open up my heart to them, and whatever you need, I'm here. I will help you. I'll put you in contact with who I need to. And so it's wild, right? And so that's so rewarding to go through all that crap, but to be able to be the light in somebody else's life, to give them some hope.
What role has money played in your life? I know you didn't grow up, you didn't grow up wealthy. You had this whole thing with your husband. Like, what is your relationship with money now?
My relationship with money, the TikTok shop and I had to break up with the TikTok shop recently. But it's because it's so cheap.
TikTok shop.
Oh, it's real.
I don't have TikTok.
Oh, don't get
addicting.
it.
Yeah.
It's so addicting.
Really?
I'm on a break. And I love TikTok, like the videos and stuff, but the shop, I all it started with was one purchase. Oh my gosh, my boyfriend's gonna laugh at this because he's like, "You've got a problem." I said, "I do." He's like, "It's a real addiction. The fact that you have to share that you've been off TikTok for 3 days." I said, "It is." So anyway, money and I, my parents did not have much money at all growing up, and I still don't know how they did it. Like, they sent me to leadership things, and as having been a single mom, right? I'm like, how in the world did y'all do that?
And you didn't know, did you know that they didn't have money? Or
yes, because compared to my friends.
Yeah,
so I was in gifted and talented classes in Brownsville. And so Brownsville's very high Hispanic population. And so there was gifted and talented students in classes. And at that time, it was before gifted and GT courses were everywhere, like at every school. Like everybody went to the same school because they had this group of teachers. And so I grew up with this same group of people, and they were, this is going to sound absolutely terrible. It was probably all of the white people in Brownsville. You know what I mean? Like, and then those of us that were not as part of the GT program. But in all reality, that they were the more affluent demographic in Brownsville, that the parents probably had money for the tutors and the right type of preschool and, you know what I mean? All the things to get them geared up for this type of knowledge and exposure to different things that we didn't, right, have. So didn't have money. My parents put me through leadership stuff, and then I never really had money as when I was married because he couldn't keep a job. So it was like enough to pay the bills. And, you know, have 4 wheels to get to and from where I needed to go. And then he left me with that, and it was a rebuild phase. And I respect money right now. I laugh sometimes just in disbelief from where I was to where I am. And that's part of the gratitude, right? I have a good relationship. I have a solid savings. I was able to pay. I don't have credit cards, which is a huge mistake. And apparently I'm so wrong for this.
Why do you have credit cards? Because of
my ex-husband.
Oh, because of
He destroyed my credit. I mean, I could get credit cards now.
Yeah.
But he destroyed it. Just like destroyed it. I had one person, they were calling me because apparently I did theft by check for like a BMW. I said, do you want to come see the car that's outside right now? Because he had bought a BMW under my name and my stuff. And again, our initials, MG. So they've had to go through and look at video footage of him being the one signing it because it's not me. And then everything was virtual. So it was just kind of so I know nothing's on my credit. And if something pops up, it's not me right now. But I apparently have to get a credit card soon. That's what they say. That's what they say. But it's just more of I don't want to go there. But it's unreal what this industry has afforded me to be able to do. And for someone that I didn't finish college, that's on my like goal list of the next, like this year, really, it's probably because now we're already in May. So it'll roll into like half of next year. You know, I'm 16 hours away, but I got pregnant. And so there went that, right? And then, you know, I couldn't afford raising a kid and going to school myself. And then when she was in college, I was like, okay, after she graduates, then I'll go back to school. And then it was like, oh, and then she got engaged. And I was like, well, I'm going to get my raise soon from this kid. But it's unreal. I don't take it for granted. I am quite generous with those I love. I spoil my mama because I know what her and my stepdad did for me when, you know, like the groceries and all of that, and they would take us out to eat, you know. I know what they gave to me and did for me throughout that time. And I want my mom, you know, and so I will spoil my mom till the day I die. And I spoil my daughter. But it's more of it's not, obviously I like money, but it's not everything, right? Because I've been without it. It's a nice to have. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a must have on certain things, but it's a nice to have. I want to have enough to know that if something goes wrong, I can breathe and not panic. But I also know if something goes wrong and it's not there, it'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's so incredible to me that you are now like an SVP of Operations.
Isn't that wild?
It's so crazy.
It's so crazy.
That is so cool. This is such a cool story, though, Monica. Seriously, that's wild. It
is crazy. I went from the part-time leasing agent, and I always laugh when I was a training director. I was like, I was the part-time leasing agent that worked, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that did everything wrong and got blamed for everything wrong, probably because I did do everything wrong, you know, but from that person to now where I am, and then it's unreal. And so every now and then I'll joke and be like, oh, you know, I'll be talking with my team and they'll say something. I was like, yeah, you know, we're gonna need to, or I'll say, yeah, they're gonna need to make a decision on this. And they're looking at me. I was like, oh, this is me. It's like, you know, when you're looking around for an adult, yeah. Let me find the adultier adult. Yeah. I was like, but it's really cool too, because it's an honor and a privilege to be in this role, like truly. One, the people that have given me opportunities along the way, not having the degree, right? Coming from a small town, and people that have taken their time to invest in me, in my education, formally with the association and informally just taking the time to explain stuff to me. You know, I worked for a company here in Houston for 16 and a half years. And the Michael Stevens Interest was the company. And Michael Stevens is a man. He died in 2008 from cancer, but I worked for them from 2002 to 2008. This man is probably the most remarkable man I have ever met and will ever meet in my life. A family, God-fearing man, but he would take time. He'd walk in a room, and he's the owner of a company, you know, tons of money. And he would take time, walk in a room, and would go shake people's hands. Or if he was in his office on a phone and you walked by, he'd call you in, put the person on hold, and shake your hand or hug you, or hug or kiss you on the cheek or whatever. But he took so much time to teach me when I was going through. He knew me when I was married, and then he got to see a glimmer of when we separated. And he didn't like my ex-husband back when we were married, and he knew that. And he told me he did not hold back on his word. But he would take the time and teach me things about financials and, you know, understanding and recognizing different trends on the financials and understanding problems and, you know, being able to spot them beforehand and the importance of being proactive on things and the importance of really doing your due diligence and reviewing, you know, scopes of work to make sure it's apples to apples and stuff that this little 20-something-year-old from Brownsville that has this other chaotic life going on, you know, at home would never have been exposed to. And he took that time. And he touched me personally also because he was on all these other boards and the board of director for Texas Children's. And Kyle went through a major, she had a medical condition that she was diagnosed with when she was little. He put me in touch with the, you know, Texas Children's Hospital, and they had me in there the next day with chief of nephrology and all this stuff. And really, I don't know what would have happened to Kyle without this man. And he didn't have to do that. I was just an employee, right, at his company, but he didn't see it that way. So what he instilled in me then has something that has carried with me now, is acknowledging and treating everyone as if they're the CEO, right? As if they're the president of the company. He did not see, you know, hierarchy and all of that. I'm sure he did in something, but he didn't let us see it. He treated everyone with the same level of respect, and he took the time to teach, and that is something that I have carried with me. While I worked there also, my mentor, Eileen Sabinski, she's a legend in our industry. She was the first female president of HAA. She got me involved in the association. It wasn't like oh, do you want to get involved? Or Monica, you should get involved. It was one day she was like, hey, you're going to this meeting at this time down at HAA. And I was like, what is it? She's like, oh, it's a resident relations committee meeting. I was like, what? She goes, yeah, you're on the committee now. I was like, what? Okay. So all of a sudden I'm involved in the association, and through the years, and that was over 20 years ago. That was probably 2003. And then I got involved in the education committee at that time too. And so having people like Michael and then Eileen pour into me, and then other people and peers in the industry that will take the time, like I know I have the network from the association that I can pick up the phone and help. And then you've got, you know, Sue Ann Tinsley, who ran Dayrise, taking a chance on me and bringing me into Dayrise. And, you know, Jennifer Panarel, who was at Dayrise also. And these people, you know, elevating me from regional manager to regional vice president for Dayrise. That was like a year after being there, where I'm at now. And then we had a bunch of leadership shift going on in our company over the last couple of years. And then I have our CEOs, which is Melissa and Benjamin, And, I have a few conversations with them, and Melissa, pinging me and just getting to know me and stuff. And Jennifer leaves to go on to do other things. And so this role is open, and to see, and from just a few conversations and just, them seeing, and, and I'm just still trucking along doing what I do. And then to get offered this promotion and to be entrusted with this responsibility. I mean, and they did it. It was so cool. They did it the day before my birthday. They offered me the promotion like on the, Friday before my birthday. And it was just the coolest thing. And I was like, oh my, yeah, absolutely. Right. And to know that they have faith in me, it's a lot of responsibility. And I'm probably harder on myself than anyone will be. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of learning, because there's other pieces of it that I'm like, we're figuring it out, right? Figuring it out as we go. But it's so cool. It's just so cool, because I step back and I think about it, and I'm like, man, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. This is what I get to do. And then with that, in the apartment association, I'm super involved, and like I'm secretary treasurer, right? And so I've been on the board. Then it was like a year ago, I got put on as a vice president at large, which was really cool. It was part of the executive committee for HAA, and I'm like, this is awesome. Then at the end of last year, I get the call that I'm going to be secretary treasurer, which means in a couple of years, I'm going to be president of the largest trade association in the country. Like, what? Is this my life? Like, there's things like that where every day. And so, yeah, when I have chaos going on and the dumpster fires happening behind me, it's like, hold on. This is my life. And then the cherry, and actually the probably most rewarding part of it is, like at events like TAA, or NAA or wherever, I run into people that have worked for me at some point, and they are so excited to see me, and they come and they hug me and they thank me, and still will reach out to me for advice, but then getting to hug on their necks. Like I saw people that I worked with at Michael Stevens, today, and they came and hugged me and told me that, that they look in the Abode magazine. They're like, we still see you in the magazine, and we see everything you're doing. We're so proud of you. And it's like, oh. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. I was like, how's everything going? What's happening? And to be able to have had an impact on people's lives, and I've seen people grow, is amazing. I have a manager that came back to work for me. She worked for me 15 years ago. I hired her as a leasing agent. She'd probably kill me when she sees this. I told her this business was not for her. I'm very direct, and I'm very candid and very transparent. And she was not my favorite person. And I flat out told her, you need to get it together or find another career, because this business isn't for you. She is probably one of the few people that have proved me wrong in my assessment of people. And she has turned it around, and she was a leasing agent then, and she's gone on at, maybe it was 10, it was either 10 to 15 years ago. Anyway, and now I hired her back as a manager of one of our properties, and she's killing it. And I adore her, but I see the growth. Man, it's like they're your children. Like I know I said I didn't want to have kids, but apparently I have, over 400 of them. And it's awesome. And to see the growth, that's amazing. So even in the SVP of Operations role, which is really funny, because when people are like, oh, like that I don't know, and they're meeting me and they're like, oh, hi, Monica, blah, blah, blah. What do you do at Dayrise? It's still hard for me to say SVP of Operations, right? Because it's just, I'm not a bragger. I do what I do. I love what I do. I think I do it fairly well, and I just do what I do, right? And so I'm not big on titles. I'm not big on whatever. We're all in it together, but I don't want to be in this position and so far removed from the people that actually make it happen. Mm-hmm. they're the ones that make it happen. I've been in that role. I've done all of those roles, and times are so different now. And they're, with technology, it's like nonstop for them. At least, I mean, yes, we had technology when I was doing it, but not at this level, right? It wasn't like this constant demand and constant connect, always being connected and in your face. And so I respect them. And I appreciate my team, and I value everything that they've done, and even my former team members. And I do. I love them all, and I love seeing them grow. And it's kind of cool. Even when and my Eileen, my mentor, she had told me stories about people she had terminated in the years, and she would say, that they'll come back and thank her. I was like, why would they do that? I didn't understand in my 20s, like, what? And now I've had that happen. Because they truly value what what I'm saying, and they take it and they apply the advice that I give them, and they grow from it. They learn from it and they grow from it, and it's cool. It's cool. It's rewarding, but but then part of me is also like, man, does that mean I'm old now? Because I'm in that role where they're coming up like, oh, this was my mentor. I was like, what? Yeah. Am I there yet? No.
Man, Monica, you are super inspiring. I'm like very excited for this to to be released, because one, you have one of the most like incredible stories that I've heard on this podcast. But then I think two, you're just like super positive, which is pretty cool. So I'm like very excited. At some point in the podcast, I was like, I don't want to cry.
Yeah, don't cry. Don't cry.
But thank you for doing this. Thanks. I'm really glad we did this. And
thanks for having me. This is really cool. I was really nervous, and I was like, what is going to happen? You don't know how it's going to go, right? But I love that you're doing this and focusing on the humans of multifamily, right? Because that's what it's about. That's what it's about. Like can have all the data in the world, but the people that are making it's people that are making it happen, right? People that have to do something with the data. And, technology's going, and you've got all of the things, and which is totally necessary, right? And it's really cool to be a part of seeing all of that happen, and it's really exciting. But what we can't get away from is that the people on our sites, the people owning our properties, managing our properties, servicing our properties, doing all of the things, are people, and you don't know what's going on or what they've gone through. And that's part, it's really cool that you're doing this and opening us up for others to see, and to see that there's more to the people and the faces and, what's out there.
Yeah, a byproduct of this that I didn't anticipate was like, I'm just way more connected to what I'm doing now, because I'm actually getting to like know people really deeply. And I'm like, wow, we can build software to actually like help them, and it's like cool, it's
so cool,
it's super cool.
It's so cool, because I mean technology is there, right? It's always evolving, and when those of us, which like I said, I'm getting in that group of like and sometimes we're a little hesitant, but then at the same time it's like, no, we've got to welcome it, right? But as long as people don't lose sight of the people and the humans, because that human connection is so important. It's so valuable. And even throughout our day, and whether or not business is exchanged or done, right? To have that connection and that relationship with people means so much more, because you could connect somebody else down the road, or you never know when your paths are going to cross again. And it's just so important to remember, like, okay. And if those interactions don't go well sometimes, you're like, you don't know what happened that day to them, right? And what's going on, and that we have to remember that we are humans. I'm like, okay, wait, just pause, take a beat, Monica, and breathe. But it's so cool. And so I'm so happy that you're doing this, and I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. No, I appreciate people like you, and that's why it makes it really fun. And in some ways it's also in some ways a selfish pursuit, because I feel like a lot of the questions I ask is me trying to answer the questions for me.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you have them, somebody else has them, And so
Yeah.
it's cool though. I love this. You know, and knowledge, you know, knowledge earned is a lifetime perk, right? That's something that Eileen has said, and it's true. Whatever form it is and whatever you get from it. And like I said, if anybody that watches this at least gets like, hey, just find that reason to be grateful that day. If you're having a crappy day, find something to be grateful for and know that there's hope. And that, you know, again, somebody from a small town in Brownsville, you know, that got pregnant before she could finish school, that went plenty of times without eating, right? So that her daughter could eat, could eventually be SVP of Operations, and then you know, the president of the largest trade association in a couple of years. What? I still am disbelief that this is my life. I am such disbelief. And then like to have somebody like you like reach out like, oh, want to tell your story? What? How am I this lucky? Like how did what did I do? What good deed did I do along the way to be able to be this blessed? You know, you just gotta be thankful. It's awesome.
I love it. That's a great place to end it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Monica.
Awesome. Thanks.